The ships of Battlestar Galactica form a diverse and fascinating group of voidcrafts, ranging from powerful warships to retrofitted civilian vessels. At the heart of it all are the battlestars, which are these massive battleship-carrier hybrids like the rugged Galactica and the more advanced Pegasus. Then there are the Cylon ships, which are even weirder in design. The 2004 remake of the oldest show kinda got me and many I know into sci-fi spaceships and space fighters. It influenced us more than the TIE fighters and the Star Destroyers of Star Wars. Anyway, enough with the intro, let us get to the 15 biggest ships in this series of Battlestar Galactica. At 15 we have the refinery ships. There are two of these, the Hitaikan and the Darumozu, and these were old civilian refinery ships that managed to escape when 12 colonies were destroyed by the Cylons. They ended up joining the refugee fleet led by the Galactica and Colonial One. Their main job was processing Tilium fuel, which was this very important fuel for keeping the fleet going. The ships looked pretty rough. They were kind of boxy and industrial, and had 8 big domes that stored most of the fuel. So next, at number 14 we have the Celestra, which was originally built for deep space exploration and was packed with science labs, research gear and high-tech sensors. It also had long-range, faster-than-light travel, a drive, and was designed to operate for years without needing to refuel or restock life support. After the colonies fell, it was repurposed to help carry refugees to safety. So next at number 13 we have the Astral Queen. So this ship started off as a luxury liner, but was then later turned into a prison transport by the colonial government. It had a sleek, stretched-out design with a circular section like a disc up front at the helm. It could carry about 1,500 prisoners and had its own FTL drive for faster-than-light travel. After the fall, the prisoners on board ended up taking control of the ship. So next, the Agro ships. These were basically giant space greenhouses which grew food while traveling across space. After an event called the Battle of Kimtar, a few of these ships joined up with the Galactica and the rest of the fleet to help feed the survivors on the journey to Earth. The ship's design was pretty straightforward, with the entire thing being held up by big metal tubes, and at the back it had fuel balls and engines, and then 6 dome-shaped greenhouses up front with a small bridge at the front to help fly the thing. Now number 11 we have the Botanical Cruiser. So this ship was like the Agro ships. It was a civilian liner originally, and it was loaded with plant life. During the attack on the 12 colonies, the military told it to stay out, which ended up saving it, and then it joined with the refugee fleet later on. The ship has a main central body with several biodomes attached along the sides, kind of like a floating garden center in space, and its purpose was also similar to the Agro ships. It helps to grow food for the survivors. Then number 10, the Valkyrie. The Valkyrie was a small class battlestar in service with the colonial fleet. It was a relic of the Cylon War, and the ship was continually upgraded to maintain usefulness in the fleet, before the attack on the 12 colonies. It was destroyed in the opening hours of the fall of the 12 colonies. Being a smaller battlestar, ships of this class do not appear to possess the heavy turrets seen on the Jupiter or Mercury class. Instead, they are equipped with several smaller turrets strategically placed or scattered throughout the ship. This class can support not only multiple squadrons of Viper fighters, but also numerous Raptor multi-purpose crafts. Then next we go to the Mineral Mining Ship. This was basically a mobile mining rig built to pull raw metals from planets without having to set up a full base. Colonial corporations and even the military used them from time to time, and according to the Galactica Technical Manual, each ship had a crew of about 150 and room for 200 passengers. It could carry 75,000 metric tons of cargo, which is perfect for building tools, gear, and parts of the fleet when needed, like for maintenance and repair. Then next we come to Cloud 9. This was a fancy luxury liner that made it out of the colonies before everything went to hell. After that, it became a hotspot for entertainment and relaxation in the fleet. It had all the good stuff: a 5-star restaurant, a casino, a theater, bars, and tons of fancy rooms and suites. It also had a huge biodome that looked and felt like an outdoor park, nearly a quarter-mile wide. Now the 7th largest ship here is the Artemis class Battlestar. So before all the colonies in the distant past were united and the big Jupiter-class ships came along, the Artemis class was the biggest warship around. It was used during the first Cylon War and actually helped shape Battlestar designs going forward. Even the newer Mercury-class ships shows its influence. Back in its day, these Artemis ships were game changers for colonial military strategy, but later on, they became obsolete. Now number 6, the Resurrection Ship. This is the first Cylon ship in this list. They were super important to how the Cylons kept coming back after death. They were built using old technology from the 13th tribe, taken from the Resurrection Hub. Basically, when a Cylon, like a humanoid or a raider, when they died, their mind would get sent to one of these ships and downloaded into a new body. It was like a backup storage for their consciousness. A raptor from the Battlestar Pegasus was the first to spot one of these, months after the fall, while tracking a Cylon fleet that was jumping from system to system looking for resources. Now at number 5 we have a ship called the Zephyr. This was a fancy luxury liner from a company called Intersun, and it managed to escape the fall of the 12 colonies and then join up with Galactica's ragtag fleet. It was actually the biggest civilian ship to survive, and it carried more people than even the Galactica or the Pegasus can. The ship had a really unique design. It had a huge ring around the back which rotated to create gravity, and this huge rotating ring was wrapped around a central rocket-shaped body. Now we come to number 4, and this is super important because it's the Jupiter class. These beasts were the backbone of the colonial fleet for ages, and based on the older Artemis class. So the Jupiter class battlestars were part warship, part carrier. They were hybrids. They had a ton of kinetic guns on top and bottom, plus 12 missile tubes that could launch nukes and wipe out cities in minutes. Their big flight decks could carry tons of Vipers, Raptors, and even other crafts like the shuttles. The Galactica herself was one of these. Its body design was just ultra cool and impressive. It has a streamlined silhouette with several engines at the back and many hangar bays to launch their fighter crafts. Now at number 3 we have the Cylon Base Star Type A. So this was one of the Cylon's main warships during the first Cylon War. It looked like two flattened cones or discs stuck together one on top of the other, and kind of like a flying saucer. It had huge missile launchers all around its circular hull and hangar bays to launch their fighter craft, which are tucked into one of the 10 long trenches across the middle. Later Cylon ships like the Type D followed the same basic design, but differ in the saucers were more replaced by fork-like structures. The second biggest ship here is the Mercury class. So this was the next gen Battlestar that came after the older Jupiter class. It was built in the time between the Cylon Wars, the first and the second one. The Mercury class was an all-out upgrade, better weapons, more armor, and way more fighters. The whole ship was wrapped around thick metal plating, and it's loaded with turrets, especially around the front and sides. Though oddly enough, it's not as heavily armed on the top and the bottom as much as the Jupiter class were. Design-wise, it looks like a way bigger, sleeker, and more polished version of the Galactica. And yet, the Pegasus was the most famous ship of this class. And so the biggest ships here in this list, or should I say the longest ship here because we're basically measuring it in length, are the Cylon Base Stars, the Type D ones. These were the main Cylon capital ships during the fall of the colonies, and yet the second Cylon War. It basically served the same purpose for the Cylons that the Battlestars did for the Colonials. They were a flying mix of carrier and battleship. Like a lot of Cylon technology, this ship was partly organic, so it could actually heal from damage over time like a living thing. And instead of the older saucer-shaped designs like the old Type A, this new type had two big fork-shaped arms which were stuck one on top of the other, which was basically the entirety of the design of this ship. Now, if you like this video, then watch this other one too, and if you want to browse for other sci-fi and Warhammer content, then check out our channel. So subscribe and like for support. Till the next time, take care, boys.